My name's Paul Shogren. I work at the Regional Tribunal of Queensland. I'm a Canon lawyer, so I deal with marriage annulments for lots of my work life. I have been married for 26 years and I have 6 children with my wife. But when I'm not working, I'm also involved in marriage preparation. So what's the difference between a sacramental marriage and a civil marriage? Now, the most important distinction in canon law is not between a sacramental marriage and a civil marriage. The really important distinction is between a sacramental and a non-sacramental marriage. You see, a civil marriage can actually be a sacramental marriage, and I'll explain that in a moment. A non-sacramental marriage, what's also termed a natural bond marriage, may in certain circumstances be dissolved during the lifetime of the parties. A consummated sacramental marriage, on the other hand, can only ever be dissolved by death. Now, the natural bond union comes into existence if one or both of the parties to the marriage is unbaptized. So, when two Hindus marry, the Church says, "We recognize this union because a man and a woman are doing one of the most natural and obvious things in the world. They're getting married." But what if two baptized persons marry? In this situation, the Church says that which is most natural, usual and everyday is elevated to something supernatural, extraordinary and most remarkably a means of salvation. That is to say, becomes a sacrament. And if I might draw the analogy with the Eucharist, this everyday, entirely unremarkable stuff that's bread and wine becomes Christ in his entirety. And so it is that the natural arrangement of marriage between two Christians is a sacrament. Nothing else needs to happen to turn it into a sacramental marriage. Now, the difference between the two types of marriages is that the sacramental marriage, because it has Christ's very self in there, cannot be put aside by any mere human power. In other words, it cannot be dissolved, not at least by anything that's under our control. To go back to that perhaps puzzling statement I made at the start, it's quite possible that a civil marriage can give rise to a sacramental bond. And now that occurs when two Protestants marry, even if it's not in a church. Now this is not the same, however, for Catholics and the Orthodox. Ordinarily, they can only validly enter marriage according to the form of marriage required by their church.